All right, let's dive in. Today, we're talking about a skill that, honestly, is becoming absolutely essential for anyone using AI, especially in a professional world like the BC Public Service. It's called context engineering. And trust me, it's the real key to unlocking what these AI tools can actually do for you. Okay, so have you ever had this feeling? You give an AI a task, and what you get back is, well, it's technically correct, but it just completely misses the point, right? It's like you've got this super fast intern with a perfect memory, but absolutely zero common sense. And that gap, that frustration, is probably one of the biggest hurdles we face with AI right now. And this slide just nails the problem. When we talk to each other, we're working with all this shared, unspoken knowledge. When you ask a colleague to analyze a housing report, you don't have to say, and remember the minister's priorities and the stakeholder feedback from last year and the link to the transportation file. They just know. But the AI, it just hears a bunch of keywords. It can't read between the lines because for a machine, there are no lines. So what's the fix? How do we bridge this huge communication gap? Well, that's where something called context engineering comes in. It's really the secret to turning that brilliant but clueless intern into a partner you can actually rely on. Okay, let's get the official definition on the table. The key words to grab onto here are systematic process, designing, organizing, and managing. See, this is so much more than just prompt engineering. It's not about writing one perfect sentence. It's a whole strategy for packaging up information so the AI gets not just what you're asking, but the why behind it. The researchers who wrote this paper put it so well with this quote. Just think about it for a second. Everything that makes you, your job, your memories, your experiences, it's all context. It's how you make sense of everything. And context engineering is really about figuring out how to give a little piece of that to our AI. And I love this next part because for anyone in government, this analogy is perfect. Think about it. You'd never just drop a massive document on a new team member's desk and say, "Here, figure it out." No way. You'd give them a proper briefing note, right? The background, the key players, what's been decided, what we're trying to achieve. Well, that is exactly what context engineering is. We have to become the briefing note writers for our AI. Now, this whole idea might feel super new, like it just popped up with all the generative AI tools we're seeing. But the truth is, this has been evolving for a long time, over 20 years, in fact. The research actually breaks it all down into 4 eras. So, let's walk through this. Era 1.0, that was the old days, right? We had to learn the machine's language, all clicks and menus and really specific commands. Right now, we are smack in the middle of Era 2.0. This is where the machine is finally starting to learn our language. And if you look ahead to Eras 3 and 4, well, it's pretty clear we're heading towards a way more collaborative, peer-to-peer kind of relationship. This table really highlights the huge jump from Era 1.0 to where we are now. We went from systems that were just context-aware. Your phone knows you're at the office, so it goes on silent. That's pretty simple. But now we're in a context-cooperative world. The AI is actually trying to help. It's not just reacting, it's participating, trying to figure out your goal. And that means our job has changed too. We're not just translators anymore. We're becoming conversational partners. Okay, that's the big picture, the what and why. But what about the how? How do we actually do this stuff? How do we write that perfect AI briefing note? Well, the research gives us a really solid blueprint, and it's built on 3 pillars. And it's a really simple, logical flow. First, you collect the information, then you manage it, and finally, you use it. Let's break each one down, because getting this right is really the difference between a frustrating AI experience and a super productive one. First pillar, collection. Now, the big takeaway here is that this is not about just dumping a giant folder of documents into the AI. It's about being smart. The researchers talk about 2 key ideas. First, minimal sufficiency. Basically, more is not always better. You want just enough of the right information. And second, semantic continuity. This just means all the info you provide has to tell a consistent story. It can't just be a random pile of facts. Okay, pillar 2, management. This is where the real engineering comes into play. This is how you actually structure that briefing note. Things like tagging information, labeling it as a goal or a key decision, or having the AI periodically summarize what you've talked about so it doesn't lose the thread. They call that self-baking. You can even get fancy and use what they call sub-agents, which are like little specialists you give a specific piece of context to for one particular job. It's all about turning that messy pile of info into something organized and actually useful. And that brings us to the third pillar, usage. This is where all that hard work pays off. When context is managed well, the AI can cut through the noise and pick out just the relevant bits, avoiding what's called context overload. It also opens up some really cool possibilities, like having different AI agents work together on a problem by sharing a common context, like a shared whiteboard. And the ultimate goal? The AI stops just reacting to you and starts proactively guessing what you'll need next.
Okay, so let's bring this all home. What does this actually mean for your work, day to day? How can you take these three pillars and make AI a genuinely useful partner in the BC Public Service?
Well, the applications are super practical. Think about it. Feed an AI past briefing notes or your ministry's style guide, and suddenly the drafts it produces are way more accurate and consistent from the get-go. Or imagine getting a summary of a 100-page policy document where the AI actually knows what's important to your team. You can even build a shared memory for a project so the AI remembers all the key decisions. This isn't just about speed, it's about a huge jump in quality.
And this all leads to the single most important point. The quality of what you get out of an AI is 100% tied to the quality of the context you put in. We have to stop thinking of ourselves as just users of a tool. We're the architects of its understanding. Garbage in, garbage out has never been more true.
This leads to a really mind-bending idea from the research. We're not talking about uploading our brains to a computer or anything like that. But by getting really good at engineering context, we are, in a very real way, uploading our knowledge, our professional memory, our unique point of view. It's like we're creating a digital twin of our own expertise.
So that leaves us with a big question to chew on. As we get better and better at teaching AI our context, at becoming these expert briefing note writers, how does that change our own jobs? What does it mean to be a policy analyst or a project manager when a huge part of your value is how well you can shape the knowledge of your digital partner? Something to think about. Thanks for joining me.